So going to the Steelmen, I mean, the Raiders should have won that game last year. If Josh McDaniels and Derek Carr were on the same page, I think they would have. I think that we'll just leave it there. I think they win that Sunday night football game. Now they're 1-2, and then let's get to the Bolts.
Yep.
To me, their coach is the worst coach in the National Football League. Had Sean Payton taken the Bolts job, which I know there was a lot of people in the National Football League, because I talked to people who work for other teams, work for the Raiders, and work for the league, that thought this is a perfect spot for Sean Payton. I would instantly be saying, I think the Chargers are a legitimate team. I think they've got a legitimate shot. I would have them up probably in my top 8 teams in the National Football League. Instead, they keep the guy they got who just, I got nothing, John. To me, you can't have your coach that you go into every year knowing he's going to cost me 1, if not 2 games, and I want to be competitive in the National Football League.
Well, it's a tricky spot because NFL head coaching is not usually a learn on the job situation. They've made some changes, obviously, on the defensive side, but I'm kind of there with you in that I thought it would be a perfect spot for Sean Payton because the upside for the Chargers is huge. I'm one of the guys that thinks that they can absolutely compete for a Super Bowl, thought they would compete for a Super Bowl as recently as last year. So I think that's a tough game for the Raiders. If the Chargers are playing well, that is a really tough one. And again, my interest is how competitive are they in those first 4 games, regardless of the record? If it's 1-3, 2-2, or somehow 3-1, how competitive are they? If they get blown out if they get blown out of a game, it's a little bit of an eye opener. If they somehow get blown out of more than one game, you got a real issue.
I was asked by a fan the other night, John, what record in the first 4 games would you say push the panic button? And I said 0-4.
Yeah.
If they're 0-4, you hit the panic button. I think they're 1-3, going to finish with 9 wins. But if they're 4-0, 3-1, 2-1, 1-3, I think you're fine. 0-4, I think it's push the panic button. You think that's pretty fair?
I do.
All right. I'm Hondo Carpenter with Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast, part of the Fans First Sports Network. This is Johnny Shop, great attorney from the state of Georgia down in Atlanta, launching his own podcast on the Fans First Sports Network, talking Michigan State here in a couple of weeks. We appreciate you, Johnny, each and every week for joining us. And to you, the listeners, however you're doing this, if you're watching it video-wise, if you're hearing it, if you're reading the article that goes with it, take a second, drop a share, make sure you're following us, keep up what's going on. But we appreciate you. Thank you for your time as well. Thanks, Johnny.